Hello. In this video, I will try and capture a little bit of how this exercise goes. And it is about a human being. It's called the samastiti, yes. So we have Surya Namaskar, and there's 12 postures of Surya Namaskar, or counts from there, at least starts from a samastiti, which is where you're standing in natural, normal position without any stiffness, just an easy posture before you make any posture. Like if you say walking on the road and you stand, you just stop suddenly. So you just stand up without any tension of any parts of your body. Now, that's also samasthiti. It's been called as samasthiti. Um, there are many variations to it. Some use the anatomical position where you keep your hands stiff and then you're maintaining a certain posture, equal distance. But I'm referring to a normal posture, not necessarily even standing, but just without assuming any posture, a human being as you are. And a human body as is doing a certain yoga. It's maintaining being human. Yeah. Because of the bodily composition of a human body. And awareness of the human body as is also a beginning to a form of yoga. Okay. And Human 101 introduces you to the same human body you have in an appreciative manner, in a way that you get to learn of your own body in a manner that helps you maintain health in a better format. Okay. Now, there are some unique features about a human body. Consider a human body to be like a book. Okay. There are many versions, there are many chapters, there are many aspects. Okay, let's just say we have a human body, physical. There is an emotional aspect, there's an intellectual aspect, there's a spiritual aspect to our composition. There's, um, if you just go by intellect, there's a logical way of thinking, there's an intuitive way of thinking. And there's also something mysterious about us. Not everything is known about us, even by our own self. And um, there's also, some call it conscience, but that may also be, may or may not be a comfortable conversation, but there's also consciousness in conscious, subconscious, unconscious, superconscious levels. And then there's the idea of mind versus body. So there are several aspects to just this human form we have. And this is true for every person who has a body that's human. So, how then do we not see the human body like a book? You open a book, it has an index, it has, say, chapters, and there would be content. And then, so we can appreciate a human body like a book. So, Human 101, the course Human 101, has one book, your own human body. Over and above that, we have other additional material. For example, there could be videos, there could be audio, songs, there could be certain activities that I request you to do, um, or do certain exercises. So there's a better understanding of the same human body you have. That'll bring you a little more closer to some of the condition that there is in being human, in your relationship with yourself, in your relationship with life, your ability to be well. And that means healthy versus, say, there is some disease condition. How then do you, in some way, orient to the already existing wellness while you may be facing a health challenge? Sometimes we face a health challenge, and sometimes the challenge seems more bigger than our sense of well-being. It then helps to be a little more aware of our human body and then see the challenge in perspective. Now, the challenge could be health challenge. It could be a wealth challenge. It could be a wisdom challenge. Nevertheless, Human 101 gives a little basic orientation to be a little more familiar with the already existing human body and life you have. Yeah. Now, mm, this part of the video gives you a little bit of the orientation on some of the salient features. For example, we have a head right on top of a body, our body's upward, vertically upward, upright, with the head right on top, shoulders with our arms on the sides, yeah, and entire framework, unlike an animal, yeah, where the head may be forward, eyes may be facing this way. Here, the head is on top and eyes facing forward. On the neck, which is placed on top of the shoulder, versus for an animal, which may be a little like this, forward. The spinal column is all stacked right on top of the other, versus for an animal, say a dog, for example, would be this way, and has a tail sticking out of the body. For a human, the tail is tucked inside the body, yeah, and the pelvis supports the entire framework, whereas for an animal, the shoulder, yeah, if you were like an animal here, shoulder and the pelvic girdle supports the weight of the body. The entire weight of the body is supported on just two limbs, two legs. Actually, in fact, feet with a delicate ankle on which is a delicate feet, yeah, legs, supported by the pelvis, for example, if you consider this a pelvis, yeah, and then the entire body is stacked on top of the framework. Quite a remarkable feat. It's taken some time for evolution to move through different stages of evolution until a human being is standing upright. The feet are like this, delicate feet, on an ankle, which can move the feet in many directions. Quite an engineering marvel. Yeah, and physiologically, to function with a head on top of the body, functioning against gravity. Yeah, um, and to maintain balance, delicate framework without toppling off. Yeah, and we do this every day. And given all of these fine little features, um, we don't know the challenges we face, and we face them quite every day. For example, we have visualization concerns, or we have hallucinations. Sometimes we don't even know the inflammation we face, because of which we tend to age. We face left versus right spin concerns. Some people have, say, vertigo, yeah, and then they go a little dizzy. That's because our body's already maintaining something, because of which when something goes a little off, there could be a little vertigo, little, yeah, like that, dizziness, and several such details. And there are several other health challenges we don't even know. For example, our ability to hear. Our ability to hear ourselves, people around us, and for example, when parents are speaking to us, we may have selective deafness, yeah? Or when the boss is talking to us, we may go through emotional experiences, yeah? Evolution has brought us to standing upright on 2 feet, head on top, and then we are surviving life with the faculties we already have, that we have an experience of living based on how we are related with our own body and with our relationship with other people, with the activities we do, with the job we have. Um, also with the purpose for why we come into existence. Yeah. For example, there are admins, there are security people, but just having a body that's human, by just being a human being, you have a purpose. Did you know there is that to think about also? For an example, let me give you the context of Shiva, yeah, mythological character, um, prayed, revered in temples, for example, but consider it's like an archetype, an idea for why a human being is in existence. For an example, there are other deities, for example, in the Hindu pantheon of gods and goddesses, or even I cannot really say Jesus from the Christian way of thinking because we see the image of Jesus on a cross, and that's not the idea that I'm referring to. I'm referring to an alive person, not on a cross or not dying, but an alive person. But the Indian pantheon of gods and goddesses has many hands and, with weapons. That's also not what I'm talking about. I'm referring to them as a icon, so to speak, or okay, no. An archetype is, let's just say, the idea of prime minister. Okay, many countries have prime ministers, and that's a job position. Doesn't yeah, which is different from, say, a security guard or a homemaker or what have you, um, a computer maker. Yeah, different. Each person have their own role to play in the whole scheme of things. So hence is a kind of a societal archetype. Yeah. And they have their own particular kinds of roles and duties, and uh, so that way, their own code of conduct. Yeah. So similarly, in mythologically, the idea of Shiva represents an idea. Yeah, represents an archetype. Yeah. Now there could be other names. For example, there is the idea of Ganesha, or there is the idea of Buddha, or there's the idea of a Devi. Yeah. Saraswati, Lakshmi, um, Kali. Yeah. They all represent an archetype, which we may not have thought about or have had reason to think about, or we do, but we may not be seeing them in an archetypal context. We may or may not have thought about it. And amongst all of that, I refer to the idea of Shiva as an archetype for why human beings are there in existence. Okay, or we could go with the idea of the Mahavira, given that the idea of Shiva has a moon and Ganga and blue body, and so it makes it very interesting. Um, but this image has certain, what do you say, features that makes it easier to tell the idea in simple terms. Now, why? Because, for example, there's the idea of the top knot, yeah, which is talking about hair. We all have hair, yeah. And hair has many connotations, many represent ideas. There's an entire industry taking care of hair. But sometimes, like the idea of the movie Tangled, we may be quite tangled in our relationship with ourselves, with people around, between the microcosm and the macrocosm. Yeah. And hence, we may be a little matted. So the idea of Shiva has matted hair. Yeah. So it kind of represents those kinds of ideas easily versus, say, the idea of Mahavira or the idea of, say, Ganesha, who has an elephant head. I wouldn't be able to connect with all that I'm trying to say from that archetype. But there are some ideas, for example, when I'm talking in terms of healthy natural breathing or Vignesha, as in going beyond limits and challenges. So I can speak in terms of those archetypes, yeah, those different ideas. So I can speak from there. And there's this idea of Ganga, in Shiva's head, which is again representing, say, for example, a human body has cerebrospinal fluid gently trickling from the choroid plexus in our brain. The third ventricle around there, there's this choroid plexus. That then trip, which is also from different physiological processes where cerebrospinal fluid then goes to the brain, tip, and then there's a certain cycling process. Now, when our body is healthy enough, metabolism is good enough, then the quality of CSF is different. And it also helps to improve the health of a body, like an IV drip. It helps to restore hydration, different elements in the body. An unhealthy body would not have healthy fluids moving through. Yeah. So the idea of Shiva has many such connotations, allegories. And we all have a body that's human. Okay. And we may not know about the choroid plexus or the importance of the cerebrospinal fluid. Yeah. So this covers some of such details. We would be paying attention to anatomy, physiology, some basics. That might be too much. But we can begin from something much similar, much simpler, which we can easily relate with, to begin with, in a human 101. And that is, to begin with, just our sense organs. And particularly, this challenge area between head, shoulder, and neck and shoulder. We will cover some other details depending on, stage by stage. But to begin with, this course, even this video, I'm doing a lot of actions, and you can see me. If you can't see me, you can at least hear me. And the ability to hear is afforded by these two structures at the sides of our head, just sticking out like an elephant's head, like elephant's ears, Ganesha, like an elephant's ears. And unlike other animals, I recommend you just check out other images of other animals. They have their ears different. A bat, for example, dogs, cats, elephant. Yeah, shapes are different. Humans have it a little round and with the earlobe all soft and delicate. Yeah, um, and has different anatomical features, fine little details. But what our ears do in the human form is quite amazing and remarkable. External ears versus internal ears. Internal ears have a certain fluid balancing system between air and fluid that then maintains the balance of our body. So we're not losing, say, you're standing upright and gravity tips us a little, yeah? So we can lose balance. So the air and fluid balance in the ears helps us know if you're going a little off. So we have our head closed and we just move a little and we tend to go a little tip. Yeah. The air fluid balance here helps us know things are going a little off or not. So ears are not just for hearing. That's what I'm trying to say here. But when we are listening from both the ears, something much more amazing becomes possible. We listen more than just hearing. Hearing and listening are two different activities. You can hear sounds, subtle sounds, loud sounds, rustling of leaves, a little bit of wind. You can hear sounds. Listening is a much more wholesome activity. It may even be a whole body activity. So if you've heard, I'm all ears, they're talking about it's a whole body activity, not just listening to sounds. Okay. Listening has L-I-S-T, list, inning. You're listing something in a particular manner, and then your brain, your whole emotional, intellectual, spiritual, consciousness, what have you, all doing a little bit of processing, depending on how well or how deep you listen. And what you do, it's kind of like eating food. Yeah, you could just chew in one side, out the other. Or there is fine assimilation of details. You can listen to music, for example, or you're only listening to the guitar. When there is a lot of other things happening, there's lyrics, many kinds of instruments happening, and a lot of things happening. There's also silence in the music. Every music also has silence. Did you know that? If not for silence, several levels of silence, it wouldn't sound musical. It might sound cacophony. There wouldn't be a rhythm to it. Even rock music has a certain amount of silence to it. So there's a different cadence, pitch, tone. I'm speaking and I'm being quiet. Several details here. And when we are listening versus just hearing, several details come to our attention. And then we may also notice what we are not listening to. For example, advice. Somebody gives you advice, and you may not know that your ears do a little like a shutter thing. Yeah, just close off. And you specifically can't hear advice or of a particular kind of advice. And when the advice goes to another level, another different tone, then you kind of like the shutter opens and then you listen only to those sounds. And again, once again, it gets a little bit of sound or a certain kind of quality, shutter closes. Yeah. You can pay attention to the sensory experience of listening or hearing. Um, that requires a little more finer attention to details or what makes your body. More specifically, our human body functions in specific ways, which we may not have had occasion to pay attention to because we all have our individual lives, our individual bodies, while we are amongst the crowd. So we are all alone together. While we are in a crowd, we are all alone in our own bodies and have the human experience from our individual alone bodies. And there are these fine details happening in the human body. All human bodies. And my body, your body, male, female, gender, yeah, gender spectrum, color difference, physical appearance difference, dressing sense difference, likes, dislikes different, parents different, background, what we grew up, what we ate, where we come from, lots of differences. Yeah. So human 101 got lots to study, which is why I said one textbook, you're walking around with that textbook, which is your own individual human body. We got lots of studies to do. People from across the globe, we're all on the same planet Earth. And we have so many fields of medicine. Yeah. Allopathy, Ayurveda, homeopathy, Unani, Reiki, Praniki, like many, many. And we have WHO's global list of diseases. Yeah. Because we may not have had occasion to consider a human body the way I'm speaking about, the way I'm presenting. So it will help humanity cross boundaries when you pay attention to your body in terms of these views. Yeah. So it's like think of burger. Different people, McDonald's, Burger King, different companies. make their own form of burger. It's still a burger. But there's a difference between McDonald's and Burger King. You can kind of tell the difference. Similarly, I'm presenting the human burger. Yeah. In the sense, I'm introducing you to the human body through my own way of looking at things. Do try and see what makes my way of introducing you to the human body different from how others may be speaking about it. So that'll help you bring your own appreciation, your own understanding, and your own view of what I'm speaking about and how you see the human body and the human condition. The condition of being human too, but your ability to relate with yourself, people around you, future generations, or rather, let's just say your activities and their effect on um, the things you do, how people perceive it, maybe, what are the consequences of actions, several fine details. You see, being, doing, having, health, wealth, wisdom, lots and lots of details. Our economy is a human economy, not that of dogs or cats. And we have many kinds of professions, and we got lots of stories and movies and lots of stuff. And it's all a human economy. So there are several details. So this course is a beginning, Human 101, to it's a more of like a warm up to basics. So you have L0, L1, L2, L3, and further, I'm thinking L4. That would be more like L0, it's kind of like foundation. L1 is like silver membership. L2 is gold membership. Um, Silver Ascent membership, gold template membership. L3 is L3 is diamond qualifier membership. And L4, I'm thinking platinum um, recurrent subscription membership, because there are fine details there. It would be more up like you would be learning further details there. And then I'm thinking basics, which would be more L5. Yeah. Why basics there? Because I discovered I started making this course available as I thought we'll just begin from basics, just warm up to basics. Then I discovered people don't know healthy natural breathing. They can't even feel their nose. And I had to figure out why can't people feel their nose? That took me through another entire learning journey. And then so slowly, slowly I discovered my idea of basics after allopathy, Ayurveda, homeopathy, Unani are different perspectives, the same human body. It's more like the story of six blind men and the elephant. We can't see the same human body. So slowly the basics became a little more detailed and detailed and detailed. To now we have L1, L02, L4, and then L5 is the basics. Yeah. So it's just gotten so much in content. So we will get familiarized with this walkie-talkie book of life textbook. Yeah. And we will get introduced a little further as we interact. There's at least one human being, a stranger, whom me, whom you get to study, interact, and then we get a little more familiar with, and then maybe with me as a template. Yeah, kind of. Sample, you begin to start appreciating other people in their own unique ways of appearance, behavior. Um, we get a little more humaner. Humanity cross boundaries and those fine details. So um, as things become better, as you begin to get a little more familiar with the community, you begin to start appreciating other human beings from their own unique perspectives, their own what makes them uniquely different. How I'm approaching the human body and our condition of being human is different. So this community brings a different perspective, um, approach to living, and how doing the right things has us have what I'm calling as Shiva, as a purpose for why human beings are created. Like they say, beauty with a purpose. Human beings evolved over time and have a purpose for having come into existence. So we've covered all those details. Meanwhile, you'll also be able to address your own reason for having come into existence amongst this whole species called humans. Why have you come into existence? And you may you may already know it or may not know several details. For example, there's a purpose for the human being itself having come into existence. So fine details, nuances. So you may have already known about your reason for coming into existence. There could be finer details in and around there. And we have a frame of reference for studying all of this, which would be the image of the Sri Chakra with a dot in the center, 4 gateways. And we'll begin from there. We'll begin from the frame of reference and dot in particular. And from there, we'll zoom into the dot or zoom out. The Sri Chakra has gateways. And if we put the whole Sri Chakra inside a circle, that is one circle. And we have many circles. So we can zoom into the dot, we can zoom out and see the circle and see many, many circles. So we'll begin with the Sri Chakra as a frame of reference and the human body, your own human body, as a textbook to study our human condition. And then from there, we'll look at several details. We will get wiser, healthier, and wealthier as we interact, as we speak, discuss. Just to let you know, there is 4 formats. One is this one-to-one, where you are watching, I'm speaking over a screen. Another is in person, like if I'm, say, sitting next to you or we are having a cup of coffee. That will be in person. The dynamics, the biodynamics in an in-person conversation versus an online interaction is different. And then there is online group, like we have a Zoom meeting and many people. That experience is different. That has a different set of variables. And then the fourth is like, say, in person, in a group, in a crowd. Several details happen in an in-person dynamics, in-person crowd dynamics. So 4 formats. Yeah. You will get more humaner and kinder, gentler, mindfuler, and have better health, wealth, wisdom while we are each growing into our own purpose for having come into existence, but also fulfilling the human purpose for having come into existence. Yeah. Thank you so much for your kind interest. I hope this has been of value to you. Good day. Now I'm going to kind of a little bit do an exercise that will help us listen a little better. And we're going to appreciate the condition of being human from 3 aspects: silence, stillness, nothing. Now, Mr. Nikola Tesla spoke in terms of frequency, energy, vibration. He said, if you want, he said to have said, if you want to study the universe, think in terms of frequency, energy, vibration. I found underlying frequency, energy, vibration is silence, stillness, nothing. That's kind of like saying sounds, movement, and let's just say everything or things. If you're going to say matter or energy, substance, if there's matter, there is energy. They're kind of like 2 parts of 2 sides of a coin, so to speak. Matter and energy, if you're just going to kind of put it a little finely, it becomes me. Matter plus energy. Me, yeah. Matter plus energy, composite. So when you look at yourself and you say, oh, me, you're more than just an identity, you're more than just another character in this whole ocean of humans, yeah, to somebody who matters. At least when you're watching these videos, as when you look at yourself in the mirror, when you're writing down things, when you're eating food, when you're thinking of your dreams, you matter. And what you have to think about, do, say, matter in the whole scheme of things, which is why you have 2 feet, your body occupies a certain space on earth. So you're important and valuable to earth at least. And you're in a room, whether or not somebody else watches you, whether or not somebody else knows your existence, you occupy space on earth. Your feet occupy space, your body occupies space. So you matter, basically matter. Like a phone matters, is a matters, the substance, object. You really matter. And then you also matter because you occupy space. And so, what you have to think, the ideas you have, how you live your life also matters. To say the person with whom you're interacting, say, in getting food, say, you're paying money, that 1 rupee, 2 rupee, what you give matters to them, which is why they have the shop. Yeah. So, in that sense, also you matter. We will get introduced to how much you matter and what all ways you matter as we go along this course. For example, you may or may not have gone to school, but you going to school occupies a certain number in somebody's statistics. Number of people who go to school or are going to school is you're in that list of people who go to school or people who don't go to school. So your existence is accounted, may or may not be with your name, but it's also there, depending on how well the information is collected. They've had a survey, then that's there. You have an identity card, any form of identity card. That's because it's a tag to identify you versus anybody else. So you matter in somebody's account, in somebody's way of, you're born, you have a birth certificate. You may or may not know about it. Your birth certificate, it's accounting for somewhere that you're born and you're in existence. You may not know that your birth matters and is being tracked in some way. Yeah. And has a relevance in the whole scheme of things. It's called population. A region has a population, you're one amongst that count too. So you matter. You matter in many ways. Your age, how much food you eat, how's your health. They're all in many ways being paid attention to. Yeah. Whether or not somebody lets you know you're being accounted for in all these ways, invisibly. You're on planet Earth, you're amongst humans, you're part of a country, you're paid attention to in ways you know or don't know. Okay. Having said that, how do we know that we matter when we don't know how all we matter? Okay. We have the idea of silence, stillness, nothing. We have the idea of frequency, energy, vibration. And Mr. Nikola Tesla is talking in terms of, if you want to study the universe, think in terms of frequency, energy, vibration. So we have all of these different ideas: universe, earth, world, multiverse, country, yeah, planet, many galaxy, many things, all related. Solar system, part of Milky Way galaxy, all related, several things. And you have a body that's human. You close your eyes. What are you talking about? Galaxy or Earth? Yeah. All you can see is dark. Or if you can see some light filtering through your eyes, you see that. When you open your eyes, you see what you see. And then I'm talking about, your existence is all counted for somewhere, all of these details. So frequency is also the rate at which things are, say, moving. You pay attention to your breath. There's a rate at which your breathing happens. So if you run, then your breath will go, yeah, there's a certain pace. When you're not running, you just pay attention to your breath, there's a certain pace, which is different from, yeah, frequency, rate of action of something. Yeah. Um, Energy is, for example, punch yourself. There's a certain energy with which that happens. Yeah, that affects your hand. Something happens. Um, versus, oh, we just do that. Yeah. It's not hurting. You could also say it's pressure, but it's also there's a certain energy to it, which is also one middle. It's also force. You could also say force. Um, but let's just say mm, fire is a different energy versus ice. It's a different energy versus spirit, alcohol gives a different energy versus water, which is also one way to look at energy. You could say it's a little intangible, but there are different kinds of energy. Yeah, thermal, earth, substance is a different kind of an energy. So if you just think in terms of basics, yeah, so there is frequency, rate at which something happens. Movement, for example, happens at a particular pace. If I'm running, that's a different pace. Frequency at which my foot is touching the ground when I'm running versus, say, when I'm walking. Basics, we're only talking in terms of basics of the universe, kind of. Frequency, energy, vibration. Keep your hand on your throat while you're talking. There's a certain, yeah. Place your hand on your heart. That has a different vibration, pace. But it's also how things are moving, yeah. Um, so you could say frequency, energy, vibration. That's like movement, energy versus matter. Um, um, kind of substance, yeah. And then energy in that sense, substance of different kind. And then there is vibration, as in movement. Okay, let's just say it's still or it's not still. Frequency in terms of, say, movement. Um, Energy, say, in terms of, if you're just going to relate with frequency and sound, or frequency and movement, yeah. Um, Energy and matter, or let's just say, if something matter, there is other than that, I would call it nothing. Yeah. And then, um, so if matter and energy is related with everything, then there is other than that. Underlying it, which I'm calling as nothing. Okay. Frequency is rate of something happening, which is like movement. There is stillness. Okay. When I'm standing still versus I'm moving, rate of movement. Yeah. And then there is vibration and silence. Say music. I'm singing, talking at a particular thing. There's a certain vibration at which an instrument plays. A drum vibrates at a particular pace. A guitar vibrates at a particular pace and makes a different kind of a sound. Underlying it is silence. So silence, stillness, nothing underlies frequency, energy, vibration. Yeah. And we will appreciate the human body from silence, stillness, nothing as a base, and then appreciate frequency, energy, vibration as a base from which to kind of understand universe, multiverse, what have you. Just basics. From basics to appreciate what have you, all that there is. lot of details, but something simple to appreciate life from. Yeah, like a point of reference. The Sri Chakra has a point, and then there are so many lines and curves and many, many things there. But we have a simple dot to begin from, and we can handle everything. Yeah, and we can more appreciate nothing. We can slowly handle everything. Yeah, and there's also something and anything in between. Nothing, something, anything, everything. We will work with all that. Yeah, simple. Yeah, we're all on planet Earth. Yeah, such a big planet. If you're going to zoom out, Mr. Carl Sagan said it's a pale blue dot of the night sky. Zoom out, one dot in so many galaxies and planets and stars and one tiny Earth. And we're all in the same planet Earth. We can handle details. One dot. You're one person, but you matter. What you do matters. And how you can make a difference in our experience of being human, slowly, slowly we'll discover what makes you uniquely a blessing on planet Earth. We'll appreciate the details, how much you may or may not be already doing things. So slowly, small course corrections, and then you can have a full life. Like the Sri Chakra has so many details. And that's one of the circles. That circle related with other circles, we got lots of details. Really wealthy life when we know how to manage our details. Yeah. A company, for example, has a information management system. Yeah, with business intelligence and all that stuff. And with working with teams and many kinds of things. A lot of possibilities. Yeah. We have computers and systems by which to do all of that. Or if you just like to make a painting, you can then organize stuff and then you can do things what you'd like to do. All right. In this video, we will pay attention to silence. So we'll begin from here because I'm doing a lot of talking at least. Yeah. And then we will also slowly, from silence, as we are listening to, from the base of silence to sounds. Yeah. We will slowly get introduced to stillness, which is a base for movement. And then we'll slowly get introduced to nothing, which is a base for, well, something, anything, everything. Yeah. And we'll be in a better place. Yeah, slowly over time. So Human 101 addresses our human body from the base of silence, stillness, nothing. Just to let you know, there are many levels of silence. There are many levels of stillness. And there are many levels of nothing. If you would like complexity, there is that too. Yeah. And then there is many levels of frequency, energy, vibration, sounds, movement, everything. You got variety. If you are looking for variety, there is variety. All right. And if you like it simple, there's that too. Yeah, it depends on what's your appetite. Would you like to just listen to just silence? There is that available. Yeah. If you'd like to listen to a detail about, say, writing or food or, say, water or an aspect of relationship, yeah, there's something in here for everything. And depending on what's your mood of the day, and depending on what you'd like to do or not do, there's a variety. Yeah. So in this exercise, I have taken you through several ideas, but I've also spoken in different kinds of sounds and bass, which means in between my words and in between the different intonation, high, low, many, many, many things, yeah, is silence. Silence is a silent instrument that is playing a music while I'm speaking. So there is an instrument, there's an orchestra going on. Silence is an instrument which is playing alongside all the other instruments. So whether or not there are other instruments, when somebody is talking, silence is part of the music. So from the base of this instrument, music, silence, when you listen to what people are saying, things are likely to get more interesting. When I introduce you to another instrument which makes people talk, an instrument too, and that is your ears as a cyclically processing instrument. Your body is a musical instrument. By just having a body that's human, you are living inside a musical instrument. Your body is a musical instrument. I'll tell you how. The cells of your ears breathe. And in a live person, the cells breathe. And if you consider your ear to be one organ, yeah, so to speak, like a heart is an organ, does lub dub lub dub. Lungs expand, contract, that's also a rhythm. Now, lungs have many cells in them, yeah, which means there are many, many rhythms already in the lungs. Heart have many kinds of cells, yeah, they move at a particular pace. Your ears, if you consider it to be like an organ, is also made up of several tissues. There's a bony cartilage kind of a thing, yeah, soft tissue here, or a little contours, yeah, little shapes, and inside and outside, and they're all made of different kinds of tissues. They're not like water, just one thing. There are many textures, which makes the ear a different kind of an instrument. You look at a guitar, it has strings, it has frets, it has space inside, it is made of, say, wood, or is made of a synthetic instrument material. And then there are frets, yeah, kind of tuning things, features of this instrument, of the entire orchestra that's your body. So heart function, lungs, a different rhythm, your intestines, a different rhythm. You're a walkie-talkie orchestra. And the health of your body, when it's good enough, sounds like a good, nice orchestra. Otherwise, it would sound like a cacophony. Yeah, you would also be making sounds, pain, here. That would add to the kind of music. That's your body orchestra. So you're listening to people and you're listening to different kinds of sounds. You are listening better. When you notice somebody making different kinds of sounds, so how they are talking, their state of well-being, wellness from the sounds they're making, they're actually telling a story. But you would be listening better. Yeah, it's you're paying attention to details about their well-being, but your appreciation of the human is different. Your appreciation of yourself would be different. So you can look at other people, the lives they have, the kind of things they do, or you can pay a little more attention to your own body and your own life and improve the orchestra. Yeah. And you could do a lot of things. When you mind your own business, when you mind your own life, while also appreciative of what's happening around you, you're more likely to see what you have versus don't have. Yeah. And improve the balance, account balance, got lots of accounts. Just for a perspective, your body has 10 holes. Yeah. Between inside and outside. And that's 10 holes. Yeah. And then your skin has many more holes. Okay. The idea is you have a lot going on in the same body that you have. Yeah. So you have many reasons to pay attention to your own life and your own health, wealth, wisdom than poking around in other people. Yeah, because they are dealing with a lot of things, including maybe other people poking into their lives. So you will be one person will not be poking into their lives, but instead paying attention to, okay, there's a detail too. If you can help them, great. That's going to be one trouble less for them. While you can bring your attention to your own life and improve your own state of matters. Okay? And then as you're being kind with other people, they are having less trouble because one person is less troubling them, but instead is in some way helping them, supporting them. You become better, they also become better. Slowly, slowly, we'll have more humanity across boundaries. And that begins with listening, yeah, versus just hearing. Somebody's talking, you not just hearing things. Again, started cow, cow, cow. Versus a little more listening to what are they saying. They may be actually telling the story of their life. But they may also be talking about their relationship with you and how much they care about you by sometimes not caring. You know, or they're caring in such a way that you don't, that's actually caring. That's the way you care about me. Different people have different ways of caring. Some people care about you by, did you eat food? Yeah. Um, what was that like? Yeah. You listen to them, you think like, you're like something the cat dragged in. That was a bad example. I did not act it out properly. But some people are like, okay, yeah, you just go do your things. Yeah. But that's their way of caring. And some are like, oh my dear, oh little beautiful princess, and how do you do stuff? That's somebody else's way of caring. Yeah. So we have a lot of ranges. When you actually listen to people on what they're actually saying, you don't know how rich you really are. Yeah, that's also wealth. But listening has such benefits. If we can just start kind of listening, kind of, or a little more appreciative of how wealthy you really are. I mean, you're on planet Earth. Lots of infrastructure, lots of beautiful things. Got birds, got flowers, or got wind, a breeze, making their own music, traffic. You don't know what all happens in traffic, what all sounds there is, but you're likely to be less complaining. But I tell you, there's a lot of math, there's a lot of music, and then there's so many stories. And if you haven't considered writing a story, you're more likely to find some material in all of this thing. There is no dearth of inspiration. Sometimes there's a dearth of listening. Yeah. I mean, you're only talking about one sense organ here. We have six at least: hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, feeling, knowing. We call it the sixth sense. But you know some things. For example, now you know there are some benefits to listening, which a lot of people may not know, may not even have had an inkling about. They may be hearing, but may not be listening. Okay? So you know something which somebody else doesn't. So your knowing ledge, like account ledge, one ledge, one step, another ledge. First standard, you know something. Second standard, you know something. 10th standard, you know something. But that may be less than, say, a PhD or somebody who's running a business, big organization, Microsoft. Just giving an example. Yeah. So there are different sizes of knowledge. Now you know something about listening, which a lot of, uh, when you look in terms of percentage of people who may be knowing about this, maybe the less than 0.00, you can put a few more zeros, 1%. Because there are so many humans and we all listen, and there are different age groups and different stages of health, degrees of it. So you're amongst some of the rare people who know this information. Yeah. So that's your knowledge sense of uh, one of the six senses. So we've just given you a little bit of, a little bit about yourself versus a lot of people. Yeah. We will cover all of these details as we go along this course. So we did begin talking about your ears as an instrument, because your ears pulse by a certain rhythm. We consider that your ears are made up of tissues which actually breathe. When you look at breathing, there's an inhalation, then there's a pause, there's an exhalation, there's a pause, there's an inhalation. So there's a cyclical pattern to it. Your ears have many cells, and they also have a cyclical process. So you don't even know that your ears are like strumming a guitar. There's a certain ding, ding, ding. So there's a pace to it. There's a pace by which your ears listen, and they're breathing. And you hear at a particular time, you don't hear at a particular time as well. Because like your nose, when you breathe, after some time, if you notice, both your nostrils may not be breathing similarly. One may seem a little blocked, and after some time, the other one is a little blocked. There's a certain rhythm to it. Your ears also do something similar, which is why we have left side of the body and right side of the body. We are like two people in one body. Yeah. So the instrument, that's your body, is playing an orchestra, playing a music that then allows you to hear different things differently. Yeah. So there may be some sounds which you can listen to because of the composition of your ears, and some things which you just cannot. Yeah. Which is why you like some genres of music versus other, and other details too. Could also be because of the degree of silence inside your head versus all the time chick, 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 chick. Yeah. Because of which your head is not silent enough to be able to listen. And then the rhythm of you may not have cooked your ears well enough for it to be softened enough to be like a instrument. You have a drum, you could freshly buy it, yeah? And you may not have, maybe a little cold. It has not warmed up to you, or you haven't warmed up to the instrument. And so the sounds is like you're interacting with a person you've just met. And how you talk would be different. Once you warm up, how your conversation takes shape is different. So similarly, you may not have warmed up to your ears, or your ears may not have warmed up to you. Yeah. And so what you listen, how you listen may be different. So you would need to cook your ears a little bit, so to speak. So it becomes like when you're cooking a dish, vegetables are a little soft. Makes it very interesting. Versus you can also eat your vegetables raw, but it's different taste. So what you listen, how you listen will be different. And depending on how you listen, what you then speak would be different. What comes out of your mouth would be different when you're listening better. And what you see in a person, in an activity, in the moment, would be different because you listen better. The story, if you're writing a story, would be different. The quality of your story would be different because you're listening better. And how you're processing that information inside, the knowledge sense, how you're processing that information will be different. How you understand life will be different. How you understand yourself and your role in the whole scheme of things. Because of how you listen, how you process information, what you do with what you have, the content inside you, and how life takes shape because of what you choose to do. That's also called karma. Yeah, you can improve your karma account. So if you've not been doing much activity, if you're going to be doing more activity, your karma account gets better. somebody may not want to kill you anytime soon, for example. Yeah, you're going to be doing risky things. That becomes a little not so very fine. Versus you're doing things that then adds value, benefit. People may want you to be on the side of life more. Yeah. You would also be making your creators proud for having given birth to you, created you, God, what have you, all creators. They will want you to be on this side and doing your work better because you're adding value as a human, doing your duty from having a body that's human. And then if you consider God Almighty to be like the CEO or CVO of a company, you would be one employee who's doing human things and therefore valuable. So you would have the universe would have your back when you're doing things that is profitable for the whole enterprise. Yeah. So many fine details about this thing. Now, this part of the video, I will speak in terms of your ears as a rhythmic instrument. If you are noticing tiredness of any kind, I invite you to just bring your attention to your ears, left and right sides, and the region below your ears, which is about here. Some of the tiredness may be coming from how this part of your body is located. There are many muscles. If you have been keeping your head forward like this for a lot, your muscles will be tired. And your sense of tiredness may be coming from how you've positioned your body. Okay? So just bring attention to hello. Okay. So just bring attention to the sides of your neck from below your ears or behind your ears, along the sides of your neck to your shoulders. And notice any tension between your shoulders, your neck, back of your neck, almost a side-ish back of your neck. Yeah. And behind your ears. If you're noticing any kind of tension, try moving your head back. Your shoulders there. From here, try moving your head back. You would experience less tension. And pay attention to your body with your head in that position. You can try moving your head left and right this way and notice if there's any difference in how the muscles feel. While you're noticing the skin, the tension on the skin of your body in this region. If the skin feels less tense, your muscles are more relaxing. If you can feel the warmth of your skin, your muscles are better relaxing. Okay? Continue to pay attention to the skin of your body, this area, and the warmth of your skin. And if you can feel the air touching the skin of your body, this region, you would be relaxing better. Not just your muscles relaxing, not only the tension relaxing, you would be relaxing better. The person you are would be relaxing better. But you will need to pay attention to the tension on your skin, warmth on your skin, and any sense of air touching your skin. Okay? So on that note, we will pay attention to the front of the neck, which is where if you're making any kind of sounds, will be resonant or a little tough, depending on how relaxed is the skin of your front of your neck. How relaxed is or what's the warmth of your skin on this part of your body? And can you feel air in the front of your neck? A lot of people have a difficulty feeling the air in the front of the body versus back. Many reasons for it, but we will cover all those details in due course. But right now, if we can pay attention to any sense of air on your skin out here would still be good, which would mean your posture is getting better. There are physiological reasons for it, anatomical reasons for it, but your sense of well-being would get better. And you'll be in a better posture, better placement of where you locate yourself in your whole scheme of things. You're more likely to be a little more center of the Sri Chakra, yeah, versus say in the front or back or left or right. You would be a little more centered in your circle, yeah? So left versus right, left side, right side, front, back, up, down. We got diagonals also. But we will cover them all slowly in Human 101. See you in a bit.